Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the Brooklyn
Oh,
Rail's 1115th New Social Environment. I'm Magali, a programs associate here at the Rail, and I have the pleasure and privilege of being your MC today for a conversation featuring Nil Yalter, Övül Ö Durmuşoğlu, and Jill H. Casid. And now I'll introduce today's guest and host. Nil Yalter lives and works in Paris, where she has been since 1965. Yalter is considered an early leading figure of video art and installation in the Turkish-speaking contemporary art scene. A pioneer in the French feminist art movement of the 1970s, she engaged in dance, theater, and painting during this time and also practiced pantomime. She participated in the French counterculture and revolutionary political movement of the late 1960s, immersing herself in debates about gender, migrant workers from Turkey, and other issues. Dalter's works blend these influences with autobiographical elements so that the personal and the political intertwine. She received the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement at the Venice Biennale in 2024. Övül Ö is a curator, writer, and educator working on constructive critiques of civilization, sustainability of intersectional futures, and practices of togetherness. She co-leads art and discourse in Brunswick University of Art, along with Anna Teixeira Pinto. Durmuşoğlu recently curated two major monographic exhibitions, Pauline Boudry and Renat Lorenz's Portrait of a Movement at CA2M, Madrid and Kunsthal Stockholm, and Katrina Doschner's Burn and Gloom, Glow and Moon, Thousand Years of Troubled Genders at Kunsthal Wien, Vienna, also editing their publications. And between 2020 and 2023, she co-curated the third and fourth editions of Autostrada Biennale in Kosovo with Joanna Warza, and she now lives and works in Berlin. An artist, theorist, and historian, our host today, Jill H. Casid, is a professor of visual studies in the Department of Art History and Gender and Women's Studies at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Casid pursues a research practice across writing, photography, and film that is dedicated to queer, crip, trans feminist, and decolonial interventions. Casid is bringing to completion Doing Things with Being Undone in the Necker scene, the first part of a two-book project on form at the edges of life. Cassid's artwork has been exhibited nationally and internationally. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jill to get us started.
hello, everyone. I see so many friends, intimates, brilliant interlocutors in the room. It's my deep honor to begin our conversation with a personal acknowledgement. I'm the queer descendant of Jewish refugees from Germany and what's now Belarus and Ukraine. My great-grandmother, after whom I was named, was taken on the first transport of Jews out of the Baden region to the Gurs concentration camp in southern France. As the descendant of dispossessed Jews, many of whom did not survive, I refuse the instrumentalization and theft of my grief and losses and the tactical weaponization of Holocaust memory more generally as fuel for the Israeli state's genocidal and voracious war machine. I condemn the US bankrolling of this extermination, the assaults on artistic, academic, and journalistic freedom, and the double standards with regard to boycotts and calls for divestment and sanctions. In the names of my ancestors and my own, I'm with Palestine still, in not just calling for ceasefire, but also naming to dismantle the genocidal apartheid regime of our time, and doing so as a praxis of love. I also recognize that I join you from the unceded territory of the Ho-Chunk Nation. In addition, I want to thank my friend Chi-Ming Young for the acknowledgement that Zoom is not outside settler colonial occupation. Let us remember that virtual space too has a material basis and participates in the ongoing legacies of land theft. Without material consideration of land back, the right of return, reparations, and abolition of the carceral state and colonial occupation, acknowledgements like these are never enough. Let's then not just acknowledge, but also hold open the possible portal that holding conversations such as this one present as a chance to send the reverberations of a never again for anyone and a transversal no to US imperial funding of the Israeli state's war machine, no to the carceral state, no to selective solidarity, and no to white supremacy and Euro-exceptionalism as the channel for a binding bond among the uncounted being so central to Nil Yalter's work in the condition of a worldlessness that in my own work I've been calling the necrocene, to bring close a reckoning with the catastrophe that's already occurred. And yet within this worldlessness, a palpable sense that there are still ways of doing things with being undone, to insist on the supports for livable life for Palestinian, Black, Brown, Indigenous, migrant, refugee, crip, queer, and trans life. So with that acknowledgement, I ask Magli to start the slideshow, which will have cycling in the background as we begin what is my profound honor to have the occasion to be in conversation with Nil Yalter and Övül Durmuşoğlu on the occasion of the presentation at the Venice Biennale 2024 of two of Yalter's major artistic projects, Topak Ev and Exile is a Hard Job, each in its distinct way exemplary of Yalter's commitment over 4 decades to a Marxist or materialist feminist way of thinking and working that we might now call intersectional in its insistence on interrogating and intervening the gendered economic and geopolitical forces, what some of us would call cis heteropatriarchy and disaster racial capitalism, is another way of saying and to name the structures that compel migration and produce conditions of exile. Recognized this year by the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement, pioneer of video, feminist, and socially engaged in conceptual art, credited as the first artist in France to use emerging video technology as an artistic medium. Over the course of 4 decades, Paris-based Turkish artist Nil Yalter's restlessly persistent artistic research journey has led her, as curator Durmuşoğlu puts it in her 2019 interview with Yalter, titled so beautifully, Nil Yalter's Epic Poetry, through India and Iran on foot to leftist uprisings in the Middle East, to field research with nomadic women in Eastern Anatolia, and to undocumented migrants in Paris. Inquiry-driven, itinerant, intersectional, interdisciplinary, deeply learned, autodidactic, transmedial, Yalter's work is distinctive not least for its span across, to name just some, collage, drawing, photography, sculpture, installation, architectural and spatial practice, video, street activism, interactive media, painting, performance, music, poetry, and perhaps we might even add shamanism. Yalter's is a roving practice that continues to challenge us as spectators in its forging of a distinct way of seeing and making that interthreads as it also retunes anthropological research methods and oral storytelling traditions, abstract modernism and elements of Byzantine and Ottoman design in ways that weave the analytical, the autopoetic, and the political. As Omar Khalif begins to articulate in the conclusion to Nil Yalter Circular Tension, just out this year from Moose Publishing, we might understand Yalter's particular genius, and I don't say that lightly, as that of the diaspora, the seed that through its dispersal convenes and alters worlds. So with that approximate introduction that doesn't even begin to capture, but it was my attempt, I'd like to start our conversation, Nil, with your work at the Biennale. We'll back up the slideshow. It's your installation that welcomes the visitor to foreigners everywhere, which I'll remind everyone is on view until November 24. Under the grand dome of the Giardini, and I wish we had a sense of the way your structure does this bringing down to earth of that dome in the contemporary nucleus of the exhibition, we encounter the installation of your major unfolding works, Topak Ev and Exile is a Hard Job, rightfully hailed as iconic at this point for their pursuit of an intersectional materialist feminist practice for which gender can't be thought apart from geopolitics, labor, exile, and migration. In the center, right, we have these animal skins and felt over a metal shell of the yurt of Topak Ev, and surrounding on the walls, surrounding this temporary architecture, the circular tent, a new iteration of your quite long unfolding project, Exile is a Hard Job, spanning 1977 to 2024. So I'd like to ask you, Nil, if you would speak to what emerged from returning to these projects. One might be tempting even to say a kind of reanimation. And I wonder if we could start with Topak Ev, that was first exhibited, I believe, at the Musée d'Art Moderne in Paris in 1973. I'd love for you to share with us this work. Topak Ev, right, comes from the Turkish for roundhouse, and it has been narrated by you elsewhere as having a real turning point role in leading you from its itinerant architecture to your work with migrants. Would you speak to the
Yes.
process of translating this to the Biennale?
No, the thing is, Topak Ev is a yurt. It's a woman's house. It's a round tent which comes from Central Asia, where the Turks come. The Turks were living in these yurts, in these round tents, not because it was nice, because they had poor lands in Central Asia, and they had to move from one place to another place to find water. So it had to be a very light dwelling that they could put on their horseback and move on to find another point of water, because they only survived there was no agriculture, by the sheep's animals and the skins of animals and the felt from the coats, I mean, of these animals, lambs and muttons. So a young woman from Central Asia, but we have these tents, we have these Bektik nomads still in Anatolia. These women, at the age of 14, when they are teenagers, they start building their own tent. They wove the felt, they paint the skins, they do all sorts of ornamentation. They build their own tent. And when they get married, if they ask the husband in, the husband could come in. If not, he couldn't come in. On the other side, they couldn't go out much. They could only go around the tent. Now, it was at the same time the home and the prison of these women. This is like a woman's womb. So it's a woman's tent. So I started thinking about that when I started really getting in deeply into feminism with Simone de Beauvoir's book that appeared in 19, I was 18 only. It was translated for the first time into English in America, and we got one copy. We read it. So I said, I will do my own tent, but I will go and meet these women. So with an ethnographist friend of mine who gave me all the information, we went to Anatolia, in a part of Anatolia. We looked for them and we found them. So I stayed 3 days around the place where the tents were up, and I spoke with these women. They said to me that each one had a brother, a husband, a son, or a cousin, a man, who left the tent and went to the big city and lived in shanty houses, favelas. It's sort of a tent done in one night, but it's on the soil. And then they said to me, And most of them left the shanty houses of the big cities of Turkey, went to Germany or to France as economic immigrant workers. It's a different kind of immigration. That was in 1973 when I met them. I found out that. So I said to myself, I'm not going to do dwellings and tents all my life. So the logical thing to follow is I'm living in France, is to be interested by that population of Turkish economic immigration, because they come from that place, from that source. But you don't do that just like that. You don't go to people's houses, say, I come and I'm going to film you, photograph you, and, you know, some sort of intrusion. So I had to work with the social workers. I had to work with the mayors of the, there were some of them were in Paris, mostly outside skirts of Paris. But they were little, they're not cities, but the outskirts of a big city. So I worked with the responsible people. So they went, they prepared the immigrants, they chose the people that were interested by what I was going to do. Then I went to see them, to meet them. I explained exactly what I was going to do, where I was going to show it, because the first part was shown in the Paris Biennale in 1976-77. But I had started doing it without video, with only Polaroids, with my ethnographist friend, on temporary dwellings in 3 cities, Paris and outside Paris, Istanbul and New York. New York was Columbia University, ex-Columbia University, and they were squatters. They were squatting the Puerto Ricans and African Americans. So it was a sort of temporary dwellings. So we did that work with the methodology of ethnography. After that, I started doing, I did the tent afterwards, and then I went back to Paris, and after meeting the nomads, and I started doing work on immigration, not only with the Turks, also with the Portuguese, because the Portuguese were exactly in the same situation at that time. That's 76, 75, 76. Also, I did some work called Chicago, because they called the place Chicago. It was so hectic, with North African immigrants. That was in 75. So I started doing these works, video with the Portapac video, which is very, very convenient for this kind of work, because you film them, then you show to the people that you have intruded in their house what you have done, and they say, well, this is not exactly what I meant to say, so we start again. That's not possible with real cinema. So it was a real fantastic media for me. And when I showed it at the Paris Biennale in 77, with the video and the photographs and drawings of the photographs, where the faces are not inexistent, because they lose, some of them they lose, most of them they lose their identity at times, and then they come back. The identities come back. So I did those drawings, very, very meticulous drawings with the photographs and the video. And when I showed it at the Biennial, you should have seen the reaction of the art world. 77. They say, oh, this is not art, this is politics. Who wants immigrants' faces and drawings in one's living room? That was the reaction. But it was like that at that time. Socially involved works, socially, politically involved works. It was very new, and in France, in Paris, and the art world didn't like it for years. I had to wait 2012 to be started to be appreciated. And the Venice Biennale. I'm 86 years and a half old, so I had to wait a long time. And then I went on working on these problems of immigration. Those works date from started at 50 years ago, half a century ago. And then at one point in 2012, I was showing these drawings and photos in my first gallery, second gallery in Spain. He is a very, very wonderful gallery because galleries have changed. He's a young man. He only shows work with, he doesn't show any painting. And I had the idea, I said to him, why don't we do this in the streets? I had done huge images, the mixture of the drawings and photographs and mixing them up with computers. So these huge images, combining these huge images, printed and put on the walls outside, but without permission, you see, and write the sentence of a great Turkish poet called Nazım Hikmet, exile is a hard job. In the language of the country or the language of the population of immigrants of the country. This has started in 2012 and still going on. I have done it in 20 cities. So when Venice Biennale invited me, they wanted to have these posterings. We have also a book because these posterings are done outside. Either the climate, the rain or the snow takes them off, or people where they are done, people who don't like immigration tear them off, or the police comes and tears them off. Sometimes in certain places, like in Bombay, they took care of them. It's every country, every district, every civilization reacts differently. So it's still going on. So I said to people, now you have the images, there's no profit from that, neither for me nor for you. You can repeat them elsewhere. And now, of course, when I did it in the Sharjah Biennial in the Emirates, I said to them, but you don't have immigration in your country. They said, what? We Arabs don't work. We Emirates don't work. We only have Pakistanis, Indian, Malaysian, Indonesian immigrants working here. So they did wonderful posterings and all these different languages, the same sentence. Always the thing that doesn't change are the images. They can be combined differently. The text in red. And then, of course, already in Berlin Biennial, with the curator, we decided to put the videos also inside because it's inside. You can't do it outside. And also the same thing happened in Venice Biennial. Adriana Pedrosa said, I want to do this, and I want to put the tent because the beginning is the tent. So it is in a Istanbul museum, Art Museum, Contemporary Art Museum. The tent is owned by them. So they rented it. The tent traveled everywhere, like it should be. I mean, it went to Rio de Janeiro. It's exactly what it should be. It used to be. And that's how we decided to put these two different works coming from very different periods together in the Venice Biennale. Did I answer your question?
And more, in that I was going to cue you to speak to the translation of the unfolding Exile is a Hard Job from its beginning research method to its translation to gallery and museum installation, and then this ongoing project of putting it up in the street, and was hoping to cue you to discuss the relation between this installation format and that guerrilla action. And so you've done that all that work for me.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to reiterate to people that that archive of
Indeed.
projects that I understand is still ongoing is coming out as a publication. I believe was released in April or
What? Which
no.
one? Venice?
The book
Oh,
that's
the book. Well,
gathering
yeah, it was in Venice. Yeah,
yep.
that's wonderful. That's two young women. Two. Edda is a curator, like Övül, also, and they edited. Yes, I mean everyone did a great job because everyone worked for nothing. I mean it's the basis of the thing. This outside posterings has to cost nothing except for the paper that you print on, the posters, you see. And but this is a work in progress, and it will never end. Even when I die, I told them, because the book is an open book, there will be another book or another way of showing, because it's going on. Since the 20 cities, we have come up to 25 cities. I have another 5 cities. And there's a project doing this before the end of the year in all over Paris. We'll see.
I mean, I think that's just such a testament
But I'm not the
to
one who
the way that you
suggests
work.
this. It goes on. It's some sort of a biological process. I had the idea and it took on. I mean, my idea was I have a huge amount of archives. All these photos, I have maybe 1,000 photos. All these drawings. I mean, the pieces, the unique pieces have been all sold to museums. That's something else, because that's hours and hours of drawing. But all that said, I said to myself in 2012, why should it sleep in boxes? I should do a new work which will spread up, if possible. And I thought, and I had a very interesting, my gallerist in Spain, who understood what I wanted to do. And it went on and on and on, because there's always a artistic institution when I do it, because I can't do it by myself. I do it at times myself, but I have an institution with me. Mostly museums or art spaces. You know, there are many art spaces that are not commercial, and they want to do it. So that's how I do it. That's how it goes on and on. Now I can hardly go and be there in doing it because my age, but they go on doing it. So it's wonderful. The last one.
That goes back to the diaspora. Yes. Well, and that's also, sorry, go ahead, Nil.
In Tunisia, it was one of the last cities. It was wonderful. I didn't even go. Send the images. They have the authorization. I mean, I give them to the people who do it. And now the people of Tunisia are doing it for Festival d'Automne, Autumn Festival of Paris, in Aubervilliers, in one of the cities where I work with immigrants. That's interesting, you know. The round, the tent is round and the idea is round. Yeah, a circle.
Well, but spiraling, so it's and expanding.
Round. Yeah. So did I explain? It's okay?
Yes, and the round and round. Again, you anticipated the next place I would love to go is to the video work again, demonstrating how you were anticipating so much of what is current and concerning us now in the 70s and early 70s.
I really didn't plan that, my dear. I didn't plan that. That is the terrible. Well, 50 years ago, these works were done 50 years ago. These almost documentary, but I find them artistic. Videos were taken 50 years ago and nothing has changed. The populations have changed. The reasons of immigration has changed. It's more war today. It's more climate problems. It's more not having no water. But the process and the misery is exactly the same.
That's
what I say to this civilized, superior world. Okay.
Exactly, precisely. And Magali, could we move to look at Tower of Babel, immigrants?
That's another version of the same work.
Exactly. And in interviews, you've said that for you, it's the inquiry that dictates the medium, and that the form that your work takes, right? You said I'm not going to keep doing tense, right? That the form comes from the particular project. And sorry, go ahead, please.
Now, these videos are from all my videos on immigration, also the southeast of Turkey, the Kurdish Turkish district, Diyarbakır, Mardin. These also I made very important work there, because don't think that I didn't do other works. I did from time to time very personal works like pyramids in Egypt, on the Egyptian civilization. I do works which are more private, which are different from only immigration. But
I promise we won't stay with immigration forever. It was more that with this one, I wanted to add that and a chance for us to think about how you use documentary practices. But even in that documentary work, you're thinking very much about form. And I wondered if you could speak to the decision to show the video on these monitors in this circular formation of these 8 towers, in that you're arguably choreographing a particular experience for viewers where, made to move. But I wondered if you could speak to the different way in which you're developing this circular
there are extracts
formation.
Very long, but because my first version of videos are very long, almost an hour each one. So I take extracts and I use them in another form. Because the Tower of Babel, I did that very, very private work on myself with a performance on the Centre Pompidou, the Pompidou Center, the building of the Pompidou Center. In 1978, they opened, 778. And there was an anecdote that my companion told me, because he was invited to a lunch by the president of the place. So I made a very critical work with me doing the performance, a photo, a plate, and I mean, I can't explain it to you now. But anyway, I did this, and it stayed for, again, up to 2012 in boxes. You see, all these works were in boxes. All these videos were they were half-an-inch portapack videos. You couldn't even see them anymore because there was no equipment. And the National Library of France saved them all, numerized them all. It's very amazing that people all of a sudden decided that they were important works, socially important works, also socio-critical art. So, I did another work also on the Pompidou Center, because it looks like the Tower of Babel, and architecturally speaking. And when you go inside, all languages are spoken. You know about the myth of Tower of Babel in Babylonia.
Precisely, yes.
And they speak all languages. So I make a mixture of these, all the texts. There are 2 Turkish, 3 Portuguese, and some other languages, Kurdish, So you hear them all together. It is the Tower of Babel. It was the confusion at the same time. They spoke so many languages at the same time, which is, as you go to, at the beginning, with the opening of Pompidou, that was the case. You would visit, you would go, it was so many languages talking around you that you would be dazzled, you see. And so that's why I call it Tower of Babel. And that piece that was an edition was Tower of Babel. And last year I had a show in a French gallery here. I mean, I have a French gallery now. And they showed that piece. And guess what? Beaubourg's president bought that piece for the Beaubourg collection. And I was so happy, but it should go there, you see. It should go there. Yes.
Yes, indeed. And for those who...
This is another version. What I'm talking about is the beginning of the idea of Tower of Babel, many languages being spoken. Now, this, I made it for a show in Metz, and it's an edition. I showed it in several places in Istanbul, and also in MoMA, when they made the show called, what was
Signals, how video transformed the world. Yes.
Exceptional video art and video installation, first time. And they bought the piece. Now it's in the MoMA's collection. But this is an edition, 5 of them. All the videos are in edition anyway. 5 plus 1 artist proof.
Ah.
Yeah, this was bought by, the only place who bought it is MoMA. After the show.
Or as yet.
No, I think they're because there are Polaroids. The first work I made was with a Polaroid, the first Polaroid.
Well, and let's go back up, Magli, to show the where we can see the Polaroids. Yes.
But much larger than the real Polaroid size. Because before I had a video in my hands, Portapac, I had a Polaroid, the first Polaroid camera, photo camera. It's very similar to, it goes very well with video because it's immediate. The image comes immediately. So the first work I did with the immigrants were taking Polaroid photos of the ladies, the wives of the men. And afterwards, I painted the surroundings with oil paint and gold paint, each Polaroid. And happily, I scanned them very hard, very large, very high definition. And later on, when I started working with computers and computer-generated images, I took these scanned images and I worked with a program that changed the abstracting. I worked with a computer program, and I made a series of these large. Now Polaroids are large like this, big like this. I had to blow them up to there. They are on metal, stuck on metal. And it's a whole long line like that. It's huge work. And that also is 5 plus 1 artist proof that goes with the videos. It doesn't go alone. It's all doing all with old work, ancient work, doing new work. Why not?
Well, one of the problems, and I say this as an art historian in part, or at least trained in part as one, that one of the dangers of our profession is this myth that a work somehow exists only in the time in which it was ostensibly made, that we kill work, especially work like yours that I think addresses beyond the moment in which it's made, and I think we can see that in its transmission, that it's speaking to urgencies that people didn't see at the time, but is also speaking out of its moment. And
But
whether
I was lucky because he was
okay.
interested. Those works were shown in biennials, in museum shows, in, you know, there were thematic exhibitions, very important ones, but they never interested the high art world, not the galleries. Galleries hated me, I hated them. Now I have 6 or 7, but they have changed a lot, galleries. And not the collectioners. So I mean, I earned my life by teaching and by doing these works. When I did a work in a community, in a town, they asked me afterwards to do a work of animation with the immigrants or with other people for this and that, and they would pay me an honorary. That's how I lived. I kept the work and I was paid an honorary. And it was shown in the youth center, art center of the place. When I showed once one work we did with Judy Bloom, an American artist, wonderful friend of mine, who was living in Paris for 10 years. We made 20 districts of Paris, a huge work on each district with photography on tissue sewn and with graffiti done around. And when someone insisted on showing it to a gallery, and the gallery said, "Oh, this is not for us. This is for a youth center, you know, but despise for my work, despise for the youth center or the Maison de Culture, cultural house." And that was the art world, you know. That was in the 70s, 76, 78. I did that work in 74. And now it has been bought by the museums of Paris.
Interesting.
By the town of Paris, yes.
Mm.
Now I laugh. A long time, and now I laugh. Yes,
it's well deserved. It's a well-deserved laugh, Nil.
Isn't it?
So I say to young artists who come and ask me advice, be patient, especially, and don't be lured by this art world, which is very, you know, it's the third most money-making business after drugs and guns, you know, that contemporary art. So I tell them, be careful, go slowly.
And well, yes, and many times used in similar ways, yes.
Invent your own spaces. I mean, they did it. I showed in 1976 in AIR Gallery, the Mythic Gallery. Those girls did it. So I give an example. They were fantastic.
That's a perfect example.
That fantastic show, 76. First time I go to New York and oh goodness me, that was great. I mean, even famous artists in New York invented spaces for their work.
Well,
that's my advice.
That feels like a really perfect moment to think about the relationship between the necessity of inventing new spaces and your really powerful consideration of how galleries have changed. And I don't know if that's entirely true. I think it depends so much on the gallery. Yes, but the one where you work together, Nil and Övül for the Bonbar Gallery in London, the story behind each word must be told.
It was Övül, who is a great curator, you know. She did.
Yes, I know.
It's about the inspiration. It's about the inspiration.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, the gallery is good, but also now the galleries, before they were the kings and the queens. I mean, they would never have an advisor like Övül to advise them what to do and do. No, never. And they were not, look, my dear friends, it had to be maybe more than 50 years to have a woman artist in a gallery. They didn't exist. They were inexistent when I came to Paris.
True.
For another 10 years, they were inexistent. We made a lot of fighting for that. We feminist, French feminist artists. They did not, they did not exist. Invisible. That's maybe why they were great, because they could do anything they wanted to do. We were very free. Nobody looked at us, so we were, I think, more creative than the male artists because of that.
No contest for me on that front.
Yeah.
Well, and it is something special, yes, that as nonetheless precarious, working as a curator who works across institutions. I would love to have you speak to what really did feel like a magical collaboration with the story behind each word must be told. I was just so impressed with what you did with not the largest space to take us through the important transformative turn that happens in Nil's practice with Topak Ev, and as you've described it, where word, sound, music, and theater as a setting arrive in the form of installation, and then unspool that through D'après Stimmung, Shaman, Exile is a Hard Job, Estranged Doors, La Cora, Nesrine, Sound of Painting, and the wonderfully titled Lord Byron Meets Shaman Woman. So would you take us through how you developed this exploration that feels like it does the seemingly impossible of knitting together the strands of, as you put it, research, poetry, materiality, and abstraction? And just to note to those of us who joined us that the photos that we have are just a little teaser taste of the installation, and we wish we had better documentation, but we'll do with what we can.
But anyway, we know each other for a long time.
Yes.
It didn't happen like
really
that.
long political
Yes.
conversation about life and about art. And I'm very grateful to be able to have this opportunity to show a very important undercurrent in Nil's work that may have been because of the topics that she addresses, like the worldly, urgent topics that she addresses. There are certain things that holds these big topics together may be lost in discussion. So actually my aim was, when the proposal came from Nil, let's do an exhibition together, that how I can, as a curator, as a long-time collaborator, can contribute to the research of the work and to the different expressions of the work, and how to exactly to show the things that keep on Nil, that keep on inspiring Nil in her work. And I think in our conversation always, like, the figure of the shaman has been a big one, which took me, of course, like the utterance, the word, the sound that actually makes communities exist, that we exist, that makes us human, but also that channels, let's say, the words of, like, the skies and the earth through, like, the human mouth, to really create other realities other than the dominant mainstream ones, the realities that also hold the world together. So that was the inspiration mainly, and the title is coming from Leslie Marmon Silko's legendary novel Ceremony. And for me, that really also explained a lot about Nil's work, to really actually describe each word, the story behind each word, how each story comes to happen, comes to be verbalized as they are, and how they are uttered and in the ways that they are uttered. And this trajectory, of course, starts from the dance and the music of the shaman, going, of course, through the words that are uttered, like the Babylon, Tower of Babylon piece, uttered by workers of different communities coming from all around the world, speaking their language and speaking their existence, to the troubadours, to the bards, in different parts of the world, but in Anatolia mainly, that really kept the people, the communities together with the stories they shared. The stories, again, that couldn't be part of the mainstream history of like the kind of larger written history, but again, that holds the land and the communities together. So, of course, one of the inspirations of the conversation was when we were when we were talking for the Frieze magazine, for the interview, Nil mentioned about this LP, Le Chant de Troubadours de Turc, by Aşık Nesimi. And Aşık Nesimi is one of the most important bards of Alevi community of Anatolia, and really politicized a bard that chose to talk about the realities of the time alongside, the connection, let's say, with the word and with the other souls, with the other sources of life, as his responsibility. So his responsibility for himself was to address what was missing. So to address the question of justice, to address the yearnings of people. There were not very few. And through this, actually, he connected to so many intellectuals, so many artists, so many poets, and he traveled around the world with his jura, the instrument that you see in his hand, and with his music. And jura is actually particularly very difficult instrument to make different sounds, and then it comes actually from Central Asia. Also has a long journey in the Balkan and Central Asian territory, like covers a long ground, also including Iran. So it really inspired me that a visual artist can make this powerful collaboration with the musician, with the bard, important voice of this time, for an LP, to translate his voice in English and French, and to really also actually translate also the desires and longings and yearnings of like the Turkish and Kurdish speaking communities in France at the time. So it was a kind of the political force, like kind of to bring it together. Therefore, together, actually, we traced the ritual of the word utterance and music in her work, and to really actually cross in quite a number of works how it traveled through and how it found different iterations to exactly sculpt what you generously put together, saying that issues actually not so easily come together without the research and the materiality and poetry and abstraction.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, lead up to this really exquisite chance to feel the reverberations of the work that as you were saying, Neil, before that you can't be as we would say in English, kind of pigeonholed into work that's somehow only conceptual or political, and that a conceptual or political work looks a certain way, that there's a deep attention to material, but also to a kind of sounding of something that we would describe maybe only in ritualistic terms. And so I was wondering if we could speak to that attention to material, which I think also often gets lost when we talk about
definitely.
video, that somehow video, oh, this is perfect, it somehow dematerializes, but you have very specific aesthetic strategies for working also across sight and hearing and touch, so that the sound of painting, for instance. So yeah, Övül, please.
Exactly. For example, the sound of painting is for me also, let's say, a little bit overshadowed, really important work in Nil's artistic pathway, because painting is her first love. No, Nil, it's your with theater. Painting is your first love.
Drawing when I was 5.
Drawing, yeah, exactly. So this,
because I didn't
so
have any paints.
yeah.
I just had a crayon and paper, that's all. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's my first. Yes, it is. I wouldn't say
So
love. It's the first medium that
first medium. No, there are many loves, of course, but like the first medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the first medium expression, and I was particularly touched when she created the sound space, a soundscape, a sound environment for the painting, the sound of painting as like as a performative space also for the audience to come in and join that experience, because most of the performative gestures of Nil, they are very ritualistic. They are in closed spaces. She records them herself, and then afterwards she shares.
The sound is the painting on the wall that I'm painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then actually, like, the soundscape is a quite I would say refers to the experimental technoscape music of the time, and referring to, of course, a lot of legendary sound artists and how they dealt with sound and silence at the time. But it was a really like let's say, the sound of spatula expanded in the space was really like also almost like in an progressive music concert, so to say, as you see that kind of here. So this is the first time actually the video is shown in this way, as a kind of environment, and to really like kind of expand also its sound, to invite like the audience also to be part of it, to be part of that surface of the painting, but also to be part of the ritual itself. And of course, like to be able to show it with the painting together, it makes another kind of effect. And actually, in the smaller room for the that you see on the left-hand side, we actually had one of the source images from the Cora Church, which was almost like in this kind of small chapelesque room for those curious to actually.
I really felt that way. I found that a very profound moment. I wasn't expecting to ever have an experience like that in a gallery space, to be frank. It felt very intimate, very also otherworldly at the same time.
This is exactly like how I would like to understand you know, the Marxist materialist also discourse that can come together with the otherworldly. And maybe it's a bit of a kind of a Pasolini-esque way to say that, but I believe like there are discourses that are like kind of overlapping in terms of the things that's holding this world together. And they are speaking of the same experience from two different perspectives. And Nil is an artist that cannot be really pigeonholed, as you said, and that is always a kind of bridging from different worlds, you know, towards each other. That also bridges like that otherworldly and the materialistic, materialist feminist attitude also in this way.
I recognize that we are at the moment when we usually open up to Q&A, but I am wondering, Magli, could we show the very short clip of The Sound of Painting from I think we not a perfect way to show it, but via your website, Nil. Magli, is that something that we can do?
I don't know if I can. Can I?
I can.
I don't know how this technique works. I have it. I have a simulation of Sound of Painting with sound and the video at the same time, but I don't know if I can do it. Can I show it?
I can.
There?
I've queued it up for Magli. I think that we might be able to.
I see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay. Can you see me? Do you see me?
Yes. No. It would require sharing your screen.
I cannot use the same computer talking with
right,
you.
but I think Magli may be able to from the link that I sent.
Oh, the link. Oh, this no, but this is Sound of Painting.
Yes, it's not ideal, but I thought we could just have a little taste.
Click on it. Okay, you see it. This is a simulation. This is of Sound of Painting in a more normal way. It's another painting. There's also sound, I think, but I don't know how you can put it on. There should be sound, but
maybe we can try again, Magli. I think you may have to.
I have an idea, yeah. But
when you,
I am,
there's
you cannot show I am. No, you wanted to show I am or the Sound of Painting?
No. The Sound of Painting. I just thought.
Yeah, it's good.
Here we go.
Hear the sound.
It's very, very short, a few seconds. You just have an idea, that's all.
I thought we had the sound for a moment, and then it.
It's very little from time to time. It's a repetition. It's just. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. You could do it.
Because this becomes wonderful when it's on the floor. That's why I like working with people, brilliant women like Övül, because she made it possible. I mean, I had dreamt about it, but I had never asked. I didn't even ask her. She made it. She made this.
It was the inspiration.
Yes.
I mean, I agree. So for those of us joining us, that just gives you the tiniest taste of what.
The texts are from theoretical writings of Malevich.
In the painting, yeah, the excerpts that are used, because also this is also one of the first, let's say, modernist art inspirations for you.
I use it also for the Cora.
Yeah,
all the texts are amazingly important. today young people don't know about it. So
And what I really also
I wonder if they know my language.
yeah, but they don't know also the connection that you make from like kind of the Byzantine art to
Malevich,
Malevich
yes.
also, and how you bridge them in that same space.
I know it's this is how it works now. You ask
Yes.
something, what is it? Tick, 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 tick. And they find it and they know it. Okay.
If we can, maybe one more from the.
I will
If we
give it
can go,
too.
yeah.
What?
I said maybe if we can go back to the presentation just for a short, like, couple of minutes, and
Absolutely,
then
yes.
because the
We'll pull back up the
materiality,
slideshow.
yeah, materiality of the Stimmung piece. I would love Nil to talk about Dapre Stimmung, which is, of course, another inspiration for this exhibition. And we see a very particular research phase materiality of this exhibition in the exhibition that's kind of displayed.
It was in
Which-
72. It's very
Yeah.
old. Very
We
old.
can go, I think it was the slide before.
I think we have to go back. Yeah. Well, here's the
Maybe down.
the other direction, Magli.
Maybe in the other
Sorry.
direction, yeah. Yes.
Here we go.
Take them
These,
one by
yes,
If you can
perfect.
focus on one of them.
Because
Next one. There we go.
Yes, exactly. Just like to speak about the particular materiality, like of course this the Abstimmung was a very particular experience of for Nil that actually created very large also research panels that she created, which is right now in the collection of Museum Ludwig. But Nil, maybe if you can talk about briefly like how you made these sketches, which is always inspired to hear Abstimmung for Stockhausen.
A cappella, it's a concert that I attended to in 1972, and I was completely, I knew Stockhausen's musical work, of course, not deeply, but I had seen some performance music pieces. And this was an amazing work, only citing the around sitting down great singers. It was a command of the Radio of Köln, and because he was living in Cologne, and each one cites the name of a god. This is now a South American god.
Mexican, pre-Columbian, Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, the wind, god of wind. So everyone has a job. I mean, goddess of Hera. Hera is the goddess of women. I mean, attending women, helping women. And then I did mix up a little bit. I put Jesus there. I don't know why. But Jesus in it. Jesus is in there. But I also put Muhammad, I think. He's not there. Yeah, the Jesus is in his. He's the only one who is not, well, at that time when he was Jesus, he was also, he was not a mono God guy, he was not Jesus yet. So I thought it was an amazing music. I didn't use the music because first of all, I have no right, but on purpose, I didn't use it. I visualized the whole, what is this one? Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is an ancient Iranian, but before they became Muslim, god of light, of fire, yes, of fire. So I burned some cloths, and so I did this work. Tlaloc, Aztec, god of
the rain.
The rain. That's a drop of rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this particular materiality is also, I think, explaining so much about what we had discussed. Always tangible, very simple, coming from the everyday life, Also in natural
Childlike
material,
almost.
never something like,
Almost childlike.
yes, almost childlike
Yeah.
material. And then they're kind of in the little pochette, like a plastic, like that's also the way we displace them
You
to
think
show
I had
that, research
you think I
quality
had-
of the material.
you think I had the means to make these frames when I did this? No. All these works were in boxes, small boxes and in pieces. That's why I have a repetition kind of work, because I have no space. I mean, I made the tent in a space 18 meters square where I lived, and I made the tent piece by piece. But that's what happened, what was happening with women artists in that time. If you were not the child of a rich man or the wife of a rich man,
That's how it
But
works.
that economy of means also speaks, I think, so much more powerfully
that's
to
for
this
me
moment
Exactly,
too.
exactly.
It's very important. I always repeat this. Sol Levitt wrote this. He said, spending too much money for an artwork is cultural fascism. And he wrote this in the end of 60s, beginning of 70s. It's in a book.
Well,
I was completely turned off when I read that sentence. But I was doing that already because I had no means. And I found a fantastic aesthetics in the way of poor materials doing work which didn't cost much.
and maybe we can close our conversation. I know that our time is slowly coming to an end. Maybe we can also show the image of the shaman woman with the Nesrin painting in the front, like which is the woman is Nil herself dancing. Yes, on the top.
On the video, it's Nil.
No, on the top, please. Like the juxtaposition on the very top. No. It goes very fast. Can we go to slide after, like before 20, please?
Did I show you something? Can I show it to you from here? No.
No, like we have the slide, but I'm just like, it's just going fast. I couldn't. Can we go a little bit up also towards 10?
Yeah.
Yes. Can we stop at the 15, please? Thank you so much.
Now, this is completely Övül's creation. It's a huge wall. I have a video. I'm doing a performance with the masks of a shaman woman in the Museum of Men, Ethnographic Museum, Anthropological Ethnographic Museum of Paris. My friend, the ethnographist, gave me the sound of the shamans that he had registered in Afghanistan, the costume, the mask, all the instruments. He put on the sound. I put on I pushed the button of the video and I danced. And it's one shot, screenshot, this behind. This is me with the hair and everything. We blew it up huge, and it was fantastic. That's her work. It's not mine.
But it's your work.
That's why I trust these new young curators, art historians like herself, because they are very creative. I even trust the gallerists, the new gallerists. They are very creative. I leave them I say, you do the hanging, and then I'll come and see if something is wrong. Usually I change a little bit the lights, but it's never wrong. It's a collaboration. And I like that.
Yes. And I think I would say, like, for an artist who has seen and observed and witnessed so much in the art world for the last 60 decades, it is so important to create this transgenerational channel of conversation of the work and to really generate an environment, not only, place the work, but generate an environment actually together to show that there is this conversation that's going on. because the essence of like the curatorial work is that conversation between the artist and the curator. Without that conversation, I believe the curator doesn't exist. So we are also like the communicators in a way for the artists. So that's to inspire work to different levels. So if I'm humbly able to generate that space to excite you, Nil, I think that's my I don't need anything else as a curator. And I know also maybe these may be the last words. It is the excitement is like it's and curiosity is what keeps us alive, despite all the deep trauma and violence that we're embedded with. The curiosity for life is what is keeping our work on and our lives on, like again to keep the world together. And I think the more curiosity that is triggered, then I think we would even see more works from Nil to be iterated in different ways. They are just waiting to be discovered in this way.
I'm old.
and all the more powerful for that experience and insight and commitment to shifting what we understand old to mean. Old doesn't mean stagnant. It doesn't mean stuck. It doesn't mean diminished, certainly not necessarily. And I think that's what's so magnificent here is that commitment to...
Of course not, but it's, I don't know. I mean, I think all people in all kinds of society, in all kinds of civilization, I mean, people who have taken age, let's say, that the word old is not nice, have taken age, advanced in age. We are the memory of humankind. We're the memory of humankind. We have the memory. 100-year-old Japanese fisherman's wife or fisherman, they live very old. They know so many things about what they have lived. It's so precious. But apparently the new world, very fast, they prefer us to go away, definitely. I think so, at times.
But you're not going away.
I don't think so.
Not least.
I don't think so.
People of my age, some health problems. Doctors we have patients of the doctors, now we are clients of the doctors, It's that's why I don't like to go to the doctors. Yeah.
Now I worry. Chloe, Magli, I think we might have a question. If not, I know I have one last one.
Yes, we have a couple of questions. The first is from Anna Campbell. I am going to unmute you so you can ask your question.
Thank you so much, everyone. This has been really so exciting. And Nil, I wanted to ask you, you were talking about the tent earlier as traveling, and you had asked why should the posters sleep in boxes? And I found that way of thinking about the work or talking about the work really just so evocative. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit more about your relationship to your work, and maybe even considering it animate, if I can take you a little bit literally, or if there might be reasons to guard against talking about animacy with art world in the art world.
Animist. Advanced.
Yeah, the liveness of the work, it's its own beings, its own
The lightness. No.
the sense that it might be that it might have a kind of life of its own, that it's sort of
Yeah. That part of my work has its the posterings have a life of themselves. Yes, they go on and on and on. But they don't even they ask me, but I don't. They haven't contacted me. I mean, it lives by itself. Yes, it is a sort of independence of the work. Yeah, I like that. I like the idea that the work, some part of my work, cannot be controllable by a gallery, by a museum, by a Ministry of Culture, or even by myself. There are dangers for it because it can be used in a bad way. I mean, like they did less posterings outside in the Berlin Biennial because the right-wing young people had sent messages saying that we don't want immigrants, we're going to destroy the posters. This is Germany today. Someone knows about it. So we just did it in one place and inside. Yeah, that's true. It has to live its life, but it has to be at one point also under control for violence reasons. I mean, what could they have done? They have torn in certain places. That's normal. The reaction of the street or the neighborhood that's very normal. But I mean, think that they write terrible things on the posters. That can be also a message. I don't mind that, but I mean, one has to be, when it's a biennial, one has to be a bit careful.
Thank you so much for that question, Anna, and for the answer, Neil. The next question is from Min.
Hi, thank you so much for the lovely conversation. I really enjoyed listening in. Övül, you mentioned how Nil's work kind of plays or works as a bridge between differences, and it also sounded like there's a lot of translation involved, whether that's between languages or medium and venues even, and I wanted to hear more about how that process of translation works in Nil's practice and Övül, for you as a curator of Nil's practice.
Wow,
You
that's okay. I think yes, the translation in the sense of searching, in the search for the untranslatable, I would say, is very much the core of the work. And probably as someone who studied languages and translation as a major, there's always that actually ground that cannot be translated, yet understood in one way or the other, is something that always interested me in my work as a curator. And then I think in our conversations with Nil, this really found a very particular strong resonance in the way she was creating different forms of materiality in order to push forward that untranslatable, but as a communication zone also. So I think this is something very, very precious to think about when it comes, especially the bridging between communities, bridging between, let's say, different worlds, or maybe, let's say, only the highlight of the empathy without, leaving the other traits of communities, like outside and individualizing it. Yet it is that collective work, and maybe what stands in that untranslatable space is like that collective sound that, you know, to bridge us together. But of course, this can be researched, let's say, throughout Nil's work, from the early on paintings that bridges suprematism with the traditions of Byzantine aesthetics, you know, towards using portapac, introducing portapac to break into the television medium and to actually then talk about what could be shown on TV or what could be discussed on TV as that, you know, mainstream space. Also, to, as what you had seen in the Abstimmung, talking about a very abstract as sound, as a cappella sound, in its roots, and finding its visual than translated the translations, and to create a different imprint. And I think that's indeed, that's one of, like, thank you for the question. That's one of the, for me, like, the core issues at work that I will continue on researching through different exhibitions. And this one was the first, let's say, step of that research for me. The story behind each word must be told.
Beautiful title. Oh, I'm exhausted, girls and boys.
I know. We are, I think, at the moment when we were often with these exquisite conversations, we have ended with a poetry reading, and I think is a way to honor the untranslatable that nonetheless transmits and gathers and convenes and creates another kind of us. It would be beautiful to turn to playing a couple of brief examples of the
from this
troubadour poetry. Yes.
Yes,
I turn it to you, Övül, to introduce.
No, I just want to show this, like, kind of briefly, the booklet that we realized, like, this gathering in the memory of Aşık, the Bard Nesimi, thanks to Up Projects and London Gallery Weekend and Halk Heavy London, which is also a very, very particular space for communities in Dalston. So we had 4 amazing young bards, I would say, to reinterpret, like, the songs that they inspired to play from up from Nesimi's heritage. And it was a quite, I think, again, like, otherworldly event that really communicated us to so many different traditions of, like, political resistances, and how the music is involved with it, and how the poetry stands inside it and gains a different kind of ground inside that space. So the songs that we are selecting, they are Görsen Beni, May You See Me, by Aşık Nesimi, from, like, his own voice, he's playing, because there are also different interpretations of this particular song. And the other one is by Ruhi Su, a very important militant folk singer from the 70s, that brought also folk poetry into the music, and with his very particular interpretation in the 70s, and that inspired also the work Strange Doors, El Kapıları. And maybe then here I would like to, again, in this short space, would like to thank Ali Yıldız, Dursun Can Çakın, Gülseven Medar, and Zöhre Ölger for their wonderful contributions and to make this evening possible for us. Yeah. So it's called In the Land of Troubadours, is an inspiration from one of the poems of and songs of Aşık Nesimi himself.
Gurbet evde yandı bağrım, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni. Senden uzak ahuzlarım, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Senden uzak ahuzlarım, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Sensiz bana zehir aşım, ah ile zar oldu içim, buldu içim. Karavana akıyor yaşım, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni. Karavana akıyor yaşım, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Benim gül yüzlü yarım, göğe direk oldu zarım, oldu zarım. Tükendi sabrı kararım, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Tükendi sabrı kararım, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Çok acı hasret yarası, dosttan ermek tek çaresi, tek çaresi. Taciz eyledim herkesi, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Taciz eyledim herkesi, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Nesimiyem düştüm çöle, aşkınla döndüm bülbüle, o bülbüle. Her anım her günüm çile, görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni, beni. Her anım her günüm çile. Görsen beni, görsen beni, görsen beni.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it makes me tears every time I listen to this song. Yeah, it's such a beautiful love song.
It's fantastic. I didn't know this one. Fantastic. Han Taylan'ın resmi kapakta. Öyle olur.
Yıkılır sıram sıram el kapıları, el kapıları da kölelik kapıları, el kapıları da kölelik kapıları. Kurtulur yiğit, kurtulur yiğit.
Kurtulur yiğit, kurtulur yiğit, kurtulur yiğit.
Thank you.
Oh no, I know that it's so yes, much later where you both are, Övül and Nil. I just want to express my gratitude for what I said when we first got on, that I'm to blame for rousing you in the evening because I was so moved by the exhibition and also the chance to be in the sweaty, absolutely gripped room of the performance live of the music that you've been such a part of carrying forward, Nil. And I know that I had another tucked away question about your transmission called circular rituals that may have to wait for a conversation for another day, but I think that the circular rituals are moving in a spiral, and so I'm excited for all the transmissions to come, and really grateful for all that you've shared today.
Thank you very much. It was very enlightening for me conversation with you all. Thank you. But I think I will stop there.
Yes.
After the music, it's I can't go on. Shall we say
Well, thank you so much, Neil. Thank you, Oval, and thank you,
Thank
Jill.
you.
Thank you, Eric
Thank
from
you.
Bar for their help supporting
bye,
today's.
bye.
And may Nesimi's soul be blessed again, and may Ruhisu's soul also be blessed again. And thanks to their voices.
Bye.
Yes.
We'd also like to thank the Terra Foundation for American Art for sponsoring our NSE program and making these daily conversations possible, and for their support of our growing archive, which you can view on the Rails YouTube channel. The Rail has been free and independent for 24 years. A donation directly supports our writers, staff, and operations. Support our work through the link in the bio in the chat. And join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. for a conversation with Valerie Coulton, Edward Smallfield, Laura Walker, and Cole Swenson for a conversation on Apogee Press. And as is Rail tradition, you can now turn on your microphone and say hello and goodbye as you leave.
Hello and goodbye now.
Thank you so much, Neil and
Thank you,
Oprah.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
And
Thank
also,
you.
Thank you.
Jill, I'd like to say thank you for opening statement. It means so much. Also, we are really both grateful to be hosted in this kind of space, for the justice we believe in
Thank you.
for the whole world. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Solidarity means everything, and not in the
Solidarity!
weak sense of that term, but the real risk sense of that act. To be continued.
To be
Thank
continued.
you.
Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you,
Thank
Gülfem
you.
Bey. Thank you, Volpin. Thank you.
Buddy.
Thank you.